All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm here to tell you this big announcement. Get ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Wokeness has taken over the world.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woke. Everything's woke.
Misogyny's terrorism.
Misogyny's terrorism, which is fair.
Is it, though? I mean,
It's
we can
extremism.
get onto that. Yeah. I mean, it depends how extreme the misogyny is. Like, the reason I'm concerned about that, mate, if I'm being honest, is the brand of podcast that we are, the brand of humour that we prescribe to at times.
Your misogynistic image, you mean?
Not just me. I'm not the only...
Me? What are you looking at me for?
The other week, you were talking about women being camels.
I would listen.
They were trading chattel in your mind.
That was Tommy was talking about them being cattle.
No, it was Fatima Couscous.
Yes. That was the name given to me.
And you embraced, you weren't even in the Middle East, you were just in Africa, and you'd embraced treating humans as slave.
I'm a big part of adopting the culture. I'm a big part of embracing.
Well, look, we keep coming back to cultural appropriation, don't we?
Well, that was quite racist to just say that all Africans treat women like shit.
Yeah. That's what you're saying.
But racism isn't misogyny, is it?
No, but treating women as less than you is misogyny.
Yeah, but when it's cultural,
then it's completely
it's fine.
So you're into a bit of
You know
Shakira law.
Just not my favourite thing about these conversations that we have is, I know we're only fucking around,
Yeah,
shooting the shit, so to speak.
yeah.
Is that we will have these conversations without a woman present, time and time again.
That's very true. Yeah,
That's my favourite thing.
Look, it's because I can't take a joke. But I love women. Do you know what I mean?
I love women also.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I want that very clearly marked.
Yeah, yeah. Especially in case your new lady friend listens to the pod. Does she listen to the pod, by the way?
Nah, I haven't told her I do a podcast. I want to try to impress her.
Well, look, you should definitely have a listen to the podcast then.
Oh yeah, because I feel like my racist, misogynistic views would go down. To be honest,
Particularly this
if they
episode, the first 2 minutes, by the way. We're not even past 3 minutes.
the worrying
We've
thing
been racist, misogynistic, and mansplaining.
the worrying thing is I'd be more worried if those views did go down well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, all the more reason to get her to listen to the episode, to base her reaction.
Test the field.
Yeah, yeah. How racist and misogynistic is she? Basically.
Bit of a lose-lose. Either she listens and she goes, oh my God, you're a misogynistic racist, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Or she goes, finally, a misogynistic racist,
Or
I can express my views.
There is a third option. Or she goes, I get what they're doing there, I find it quite funny, and she enjoys it.
I just don't think that's an option. I just think women don't really understand humour.
Well, as I said, they can't take a joke.
They can't take a joke.
That's why there's so few female comedians.
That's exactly the reason, though. They're just not funny. Women are not funny.
Do you know the hilarious truth of like what we're joking about, though, is like there's a podcast I love called Have a Word, and some of their genuinely most successful and popular episodes, because it's a very laddie podcast, like
With female.
is when they have women on. Like Vicky Patterson's been on it a few times. She's guest hosted it. And
She's a good laugher, to be fair.
There's a really good comedian called Helen Bauer. She's like of English and German descent. Really funny. And another one recently called Hattie Preston. She's really funny as well. She was also in one of the Harry Potters as an extra. So
as an extra.
Yeah. She wasn't good enough to be as a main
No,
cast member, of course. But, you know.
How do you feel if you got cut?
What, as an extra?
Mm.
It depends what it is. I mean, even like if, say, we'd have been extras on Harry Potter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether I was actually in the movie or not, I don't actually think would bother me.
You were there. You were part of it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I think that's probably how.
Have you ever seen Rick Mail talking about it?
No, who's
Because
Rick Mail?
So he was in The Young Ones and he was in Bottom, like Crazy Hair. He was also in a few episodes of Blackadder. Various series.
Okay. If I saw him,
if you saw him, you'd know him.
He was.
He sends the most amazing fan mail, by the way.
Okay.
So when people send him fan mail and he writes back, like someone wrote back and were like, you know, we're getting married, or my best friend's getting married. Love it if you could write a letter. And he just wrote back, "Fuck you, you bastard! I can't believe you didn't invite me to be your best man, and now you're sending me, you know, just really."
He's actually put time and effort.
100%. He just takes the piss at everyone that writes to him. Once he wrote a really horrible message, then crossed through it and was like, thanks for the message, all the best, Rick. You know, it was like, it's.
Yeah.
But he
and that probably gets him even more interaction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%,
Rather than it's the Barbra Streisand
people
effect
want,
almost, but I'd imagine it's why he's
people
doing
want
it,
to be.
Yeah.
No, so he was cast as do you remember the fucking Peeves or whatever his name is? I don't know, he wasn't like a ghoul or something, but he was just a poltergeist.
Okay.
And he was just there to be a wind up merchant and pull pranks and stuff in Harry Potter.
Okay.
And he was cast as that. And then he got like cut from the film. So if you think about it, he's not in the film.
In the books, I can't remember what the character's name. I know what
Peter
character
or something. But
it's like a jester clown ghost. Yeah.
And he was cut from the film, so he was cast and he shot scenes. And he was cut from the film, and he talks about. He's like, at the end of the day, he's like, the easiest money I've ever made. He says, my performance doesn't matter because it never made it on screen.
Yeah.
I still got the paycheck. And I still get to tell my kids that I got to be in Harry Potter. Yeah. They don't, it doesn't matter that I was cut.
Yeah.
He's like, honestly, easiest payday I've ever had.
Yeah. Jack Whitehall had a similar thing, not with Harry Potter, although he did go for Harry Potter when he was younger. But it was with, I think it might have been Trolls or something like that.
Got cut.
And he put a lot of time, like it wasn't a small part. And there's like a singing role and like all of that. And he's like, I put so much effort into it. We turn up at the premiere and my scene just never comes. And that was the first time I found out it's been cut. I think that would bug me a little bit.
That's the cruelty if you get invited to the premiere.
But that's not being an extra, I suppose. But
no.
Like if you've got a significant role in something and they've just decided you're surplus to requirements, that would probably feel a bit.
Because even though you were probably cut for pacing or you were cut because the character was added too much, you can't help but feel like it was on your performance. Yeah, like they were looking at it and going, this guy's bringing the film down.
That they were like, it's lowering the standard.
Yeah. Get him gone.
Yeah.
I want that guy gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the subject of misogyny, there is a subject I've had in my notes for quite a while.
Sure. Which women are we attacking?
We're not, but a woman was attacked.
God damn.
And I'm not going to say their name. It's very easy to Google. But a Reform MP who now sits in Parliament.
Yes.
Was prosecuted for assaulting his ex-girlfriend, and I believe he was around 20 at the time. I believe he went to prison for it, and was able to run to be an MP without disclosing it. He claims that the story that's been told about it is false. He claims that he just pushed her and she exaggerated what happened, but he said even so, he's ashamed of his behaviour that night. He shouldn't have got angry. He said she got hurt after he pushed her over. Whereas her account of it said it was a much more severe attack. And I mean, personally, without seeing the court filings and the evidence that was brought against him, I tend to think with how few violent crimes actually even make it to court,
but there must have been something substantial there.
I don't buy his excuse. But it does raise an interesting question that someone can end up in that privileged a position, having done that without ever having to disclose it. Whereas if you or I even applied for a job to be a cleaner at a local shop, we would be expected to disclose if we have criminal records for whatever it is. So what do you think?
Well, my heart goes out in a massive way to the poor woman, the victim of the abuse, because, to go back to what you've just said there, she's actually come forward. So few domestic abuse victims do come forward. Yeah. She's come forward. It's gone to court again, even out of the ones that, it's an ever narrowing pool. Not many people come forward. Yeah. Of the ones that come forward, not many make it to court. Of the ones that make it to court, not many get persecuted, found guilty, prosecuted. Thank you. So close, just a slightly misplaced R and a wrong vowel. But
it's all good.
My point is, she's been brave enough to come forward. It's gone to court. She's seen him get a custodial sentence, which presumably she would have felt some sense of justice, even if she felt it didn't quite go far enough or whatever, but some sense of justice. And then years later, she's got to watch this man not only have a public career, but be voted in, be elected into a position of immense power to vote and have an active say in the future of our country, in the policies of our country, in the laws of our country, and all this stuff. And it's like, how's that for justice? And as I said to you at the time, it's very similar to...
It does raise an interesting question over, can someone be rehabilitated? It happened to him when he was young. You know,
Well, I think that's almost...
He paid for the crime, so to speak. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's almost irrelevant at this stage, isn't it? Because the question is, why didn't he have to disclose it?
No, totally. I mean...
You know, that's...
Totally. But for me, there's two issues with it. It's that, and there's the...
If he's disclosed it, and then it's up to the people to decide. It's up to him to then...
Well, yeah,
make his case for being rehabilitated to the voting public.
Your constituency need to be made aware of this is the person's past. And to be honest with you, given the party he's standing for, I tend to think that even if it had have been known, he'd have probably still got elected.
Yeah.
Which I think says an awful lot about the people that vote for reform.
I think
it also did not make me chuckle, but I wasn't shocked that it was a Reform MP that was involved with it. Not that other parties don't have scumbags in them, because they do, but it just happens to be the majority of the people that seem to involve themselves with reform, at least on an electoral sense, tend not to be very nice people.
And there's a lot of, well, and as I said to you, there's a lot of parallels with our cousins across the pond, because, as you said, we would have to certainly disclose that information for any position we applied for. And if we lied, which then probably won't check, but if they did check and they found out, you could be fired there and then on the spot for not disclosing it.
If he wants to go to America, or has wanted to go to America at any point, he would have had to have disclosed that to the American government just to enter their country for a holiday. I believe that to be the case. Am I wrong about that?
You need to disclose any
if you're
criminal
a felon,
convictions.
what they would consider a felon.
But like I said, you know, there are so many convicted felons because they've, you know, one of the highest incarceration rates
because
in the world
are on the
per capita.
Judges are literally incentivised to jail people.
Yes, they've got quotas to hit, and it's like, that's not about justice. I know we've had this conversation before.
To be honest with you, our court system isn't...
It's not too dissimilar.
Sadly.
And like I said, if you want to go back and listen to that, you can.
Yeah.
In a previous episode where I spoke about how that's, you know, you want, in that particular industry, you want justice. So you want the truth to come out. You want fairness and equality and justice, and quotas do not aid that. They impede that in a massive way.
Oh, totally.
But in America, you know, there's so many convicted felons that can't vote, but the man who they're not allowed to vote for is a convicted felon.
Yeah.
He's a known adulterer, a known, you know,
I mean,
like sexual assault.
Sexual assault, yeah.
And yet he's allowed to run for the highest office in the country. And that's like similar to here, where this chap's been allowed to run for one of the highest positions in the country.
The truth is, the only reason we're even aware of it is because a paper decided to investigate a lot of the new MPs that had been elected, and they happened to come across it when looking into the Reform MP.
They say, don't they, when you go to one of these positions, one of the first things they say is that, are there any skeletons in the closet? And 9 times out of 10 for these parties, unless you're running sort of very independently or running for a very honest party, they don't care so much. They don't care that you've got stuff. They just want to know so that they can get out ahead of it and either bury it, hide it, prepare a counter-attack, whatever.
I can't remember what the guy's name was, but it was when Ted Heath was Prime Minister, and his chief whip at the time said, we found things out about MPs like involvement with children or indiscretions in private, and instead of having them kicked out of Parliament, we used it as leverage to get them to vote the way we wanted to. So, like, if anything, having those sorts of people in Parliament seems to be encouraged because it's something you can use as leverage to your advantage.
They're manipulative people.
Yeah.
They're malleable people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and look, if you're someone who's willing to beat a partner and commit domestic abuse, which I personally think is one of the most cowardly things you can do, you're not going to be far from being corrupt, are you? It's not going to be difficult to make you malleable to, or convince you to do things that are against your interest or against your constituency's interests.
The knock-on effect, what does it say to people who are going to, you know, and I've said this to you before, right? In fact, I'm going to save that for a second, because first of all, it says to victims, there's no point coming forward, because even if you get the conviction, even if you get them,
Yeah.
they might still end up in a position of power years down the line. But that comes back to, do you remember we had this conversation again? You can go listen back to this. I think the episode mentions Johnny Depp in the title or something.
Yeah.
But when I said to you that, like, this whole a woman saying accusations against you, it can like ruin your whole life, ruin your whole career. And I said, I don't really think for most people there are many consequences for it. Obviously for like regular Joes like you and me, there often are, but for a lot of people,
I would still argue in Johnny Depp's situation, and I would also argue that he is innocent of the things he's been accused
Johnny
of.
Depp aside, this bloke has
his life's gone
beaten
all right.
his wife, and he's now earning like 90 grand a year, and voting on the future of the country.
And from what we understand, MPs have access to potentially millions over a course of a parliament if they're willing to bend
what
in certain ways.
how has his life actually been ruined
Yeah.
by doing this thing, by this woman coming forward, even if she did exaggerate it, which, like I said, you and I are both quite sceptical about it, given the lack of...
Just the fact he got convicted.
Yeah, there's so few people do.
The statistics on how often that happened, like, you just have to sort of believe that, even though I know our justice system isn't by any means perfect, but you'd like to think the fact he got prosecuted for it indicates that
there was some seriously heavy evidence
against him.
Yeah. And I just think that even if she exaggerated it, and he did literally just kind of went, oh, fuck off, and armed her off, and then she's gone and made up a whole thing, even if that is the case, and she's made up this lie to ruin his life, his life's not ruined. He's doing absolutely fine.
No, but that also still doesn't justify false accusations.
But so again, on the flip side of that, it says to people who are abusers, you're not going to face any, even if you do face consequences for your actions, it's not really going to ruin your life. There's a good chance that you're still going to be absolutely fine after it.
Yeah.
There's no deterrent. And if prison, things like that, is generally meant to be not only a punishment but a deterrent, that's just not working, is it? It's not sending out the wrong message by getting this bloke elected without having to disclose it.
Have you added in, because you said you were holding something for a minute?
No, that was it, the Johnny Depp comparison. That was what I wanted to get out there.
The other aspect we need to talk about, though, is the rehabilitation aspect. So, like, do we believe someone like him is at any point someone you want? Because for me, I
believe in rehabilitation.
So do I, but to a point, and with certain crimes, like, it's not across the board. But I think if you've committed domestic abuse, sexual assault, like violence against women, essentially, I would suppose, or anyone vulnerable, you could probably put in there. I think that there is a limit to how much someone like that can be, or at least how much I'm willing to allow them to be rehabilitated.
I believe that someone could have had, like, just taking this chap, for instance, just on this case, I believe that he could have had a very angry past, a very angry upbringing, and the consequences of that incident may have filled him with immense remorse and guilt, and he may have gone about a complete change. He's undergone therapy, he's undergone anger management, and he now is at better control of his anger, and he now, just feels so guilty about what he did, and he would never ever do it again. And I believe
that's what he claims. That is what he claims, to be fair.
And but I do believe that he should have disclosed that was in his past. And here's the thing, even if they don't disclose it necessarily to the public, which I think you do have a right to know these things if you're being asked to elect someone, you should have at least disclosed it to Parliament. But here's the flip side of that, because you just kind of indicated by saying only certain people, certain crimes, they can only be rehabilitated up to a point. In your opinion,
it's unrealistic to claim anything else, really, isn't it? Because we all have that line, don't we? Like, if I say the name Mason Greenwood to you, I know what your position will be on whether he should be allowed. So, like, there is a line. And can I just say on that,
Fabrizio Romano has been absolutely ruined, in my opinion.
I couldn't
for his support for Mason Greenwood.
I couldn't believe that he was doing promo for him.
Yeah, I found it absolutely shocking.
Like, even talking about the transfer itself,
it's like career suicide.
For me. And to be honest, most of the stuff he posts is stuff he's.
And who are you appealing? Like, realistically, who's going to support you? United fanboys? Because I'm not being funny.
Things, there is a chunk of people out there,
but most fans of other clubs, even the diehard ones,
like, for me, it's made me think a hell of a lot less of Marseille as an organisation.
It's only really the United fans and obviously Marseille fans that are
the Marseille
defend him.
Also own Sunderland.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sad.
But what the fuck were we talking about?
We were talking about the limit
Oh, right.
of rehabilitation.
So that's my point, is that you've just kind of indicated there, if he did disclose it, even if he is rehabilitated and he is genuinely wanted to be a positive force, would people have voted for him knowing that information?
I think reform voters, yes.
Do you think? I don't know. I think you're doing them a disservice. I think they still. I don't think
they
they
vote
would
for Farage, so
yeah, but
and he's as disgusting as they come. So I'd sadly, if you're willing to vote, because the thing is, you can't underestimate sometimes what people are willing to accept if they think it benefits them.
No, that's true. I don't. I think that still would have been a step too far for reform voters.
Personally,
look at me defending reform voters. Look how far we've come.
Well, there's a good
clip that. Let's show them that. Like, get the fucking. Let's get these comments.
Get the right on our
let's
side.
get these comments.
No, because we'd be patronising them again, wouldn't we?
Oh, fuck them, little snowflakes.
Sensitive
clip that.
Little creatures.
Fuck it.
But I personally think, and it might even just be isolated to being involved with governing the country, right? And you could say even at council level, I think if you're mainly Parliament perhaps, and Lords and things like that, I don't think you should be allowed anywhere near it. I just think for certain things, there should be a certain line and calibre of people that we're not willing to drop below. Do you know what I mean? And I know, as someone who considers myself quite left-leaning, that probably goes against that and like my middle ground. But I feel like with certain things, like I wouldn't let someone like Mason Greenwood ever step anywhere near Parliament. Do you know what I mean?
wouldn't be against a rule that was introduced that says that anyone with, and I know that it's not a perfect thing because there's lots of counter arguments and people will probably be thinking that listening, but I wouldn't be against a rule that says that you cannot serve in a public office position. You cannot hold a position in public office, and that isn't basically as an elected official.
Whether that's a council of a crime.
No, I wouldn't say if you've ever been convicted of a crime, but if you've ever been convicted of a violent crime.
Yeah, I could live
if you've ever been convicted, and obviously that includes fraud and financial fraud and corruption.
Yeah,
if you've ever been found guilty of any of those, and obviously violent crime, I'm including rape and sexual assault in there. If you've ever convicted,
I don't care how long ago it was.
That I think that should be a flat rule that's just you don't go. You're not allowed in it anywhere. You're not allowed to run in an election if you've
for any position.
If you've been found guilty,
local
council,
government, because you can do like what the Conservatives do or did in the last government, which was just pick a non-MP in David Cameron and go, we're going to give him a position.
And the same that you cannot hold a ministerial position or anything,
or be in the House of Lords
if you've been found guilty.
I could live with that.
I'd be fine with
because I just feel like we're relying on these people to be trustworthy. Because what you're doing when you vote for your MP is you're putting your trust in them to represent your interests in Parliament. And I don't know if I can trust someone that beats women. And I'm like, that's probably quite a hard line to take, but it doesn't feel like a difficult hard line to take. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I thought that was a nice like segue from the misogyny at the start into full support for.
Yeah, we're with you, sisters. Or is that's patronising, isn't it?
That was weird. I just kissed my fist and put it in like I'm warming it up for him.
Like some kind of like handicapped Italian. You're like. Can't open your fist, I
think I meant to go for the two fingers as if like I was doing a rippers, but then didn't and just kissed my fist. I kissed the thunder.
It's a shame because two fingers is a very popular move.
Yeah. It depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, I know you like it.
On me?
On you.
No.
One finger limit.
I would say depends on the pinky.
Depends on the size of the finger.
Yeah. I mean, your fingers, I don't know.
You get away with a fist, I reckon.
Maybe at Enter the Dragon. Which I've always loved that one. No woman has ever had the Enter the Dragon done on her. I can't.
It's not a real thing.
No.
It's 100% not a real thing.
For anyone who doesn't know what Enter the Dragon is, please go.
Yeah.
And a nice way to dovetail is to be misogynistic at the end, I suppose.
A nice little bookend. Misogyny, we support you, misogyny.
I saw something quite interesting online. I wanted to know what you thought about it. Did you see that there was a GoFundMe for one of the rioters?
I'll be honest, my online searches are almost exclusively porn.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I haven't actually seen that. Is there been
one of the rioters...
Can I just say, by the way, that some of the fucking headlines, and the BBC in particular, and I love the BBC, I'm a big supporter of the BBC, but some of their headlines are so fucking misleading with some of the convictions of the rioters. Like, did you see that bloke where they were like, oh, he was convicted for chanting at the police, and it turns out that actually what he did was he incited violence by he was not just chanting at them, he was shouting abusive messages toward them, and then he actually pushed one of the rioters into the police, which started violence.
Okay.
And it was like, and that's just a section of it. He's actually done, he was actually found guilty of a lot more incidents within the riots. But the headline was just like, oh, can you really be guilty of chanting? And it's like, can you fuck off and actually like do some accurate?
Well, yeah,
it's very misleading.
If you're chanting not very nice stuff,
I mean,
you can be.
The article laid it all out, and the article explained why he was actually convicted. But the headline was just so misleading, and
like if we went
I didn't like it.
Tottenham Stadium and started chanting the famous chant, "You're not allowed to chant," that would be a bad thing, and you wouldn't be allowed to do it, and you'd probably get arrested. So yeah, you can get in trouble for chanting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy, he's one of the violent protesters. He is guilty of being violent at the protests. He's been jailed for a number of years, and he's left behind a wife and 2 kids.
Okay,
and a mortgage.
I'm vaguely aware of this story. Yeah,
And so one of the guy's friends did a bit of a poor him post, right? And this is where I think they made the mistake. It should have been all centered around the fact there was a wife and kids and a mortgage that needed paying, but instead it was like, my mate, he went along, he was misguided. It was all like the guy was a victim.
If anything, you could have turned it. You'd have had. I think you might have had success with the GoFundMe if you'd have turned it on him and gone. This was because this woman had kids with this dickhead that she had no idea he held these views.
Yeah.
Now he's gone out and been an absolute
Bellend.
knob.
Yeah, got himself locked up. His
and
wife
she's
and
left
kids have been
struggling financially and struggling emotionally to support the kids and stuff because she had no idea he harboured these views, or even go, look, when she was with him he got radicalised, she wasn't like that, or what, you could frame it and just make him the bad guy because he's the bad guy.
But instead he did it that the guy was the victim.
And I bet all the supporters of the Farage and that ilk have actually paid to it, haven't they?
Well, it's been closed now.
Has it?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. GoFundMe have cancelled the fundraise because they got a lot of complaints about it, that it was supporting a violent protester.
I was going to say they've probably got rules and policies in place,
and conditions that it violated.
So you can't raise funds for.
See, that's why I said I think they've made the mistake. It should have all been centred around supporting the wife and 2 children. So I'm sort of against the fact they cancelled it, and like, look, the guy's a scumbag, and he should be in prison. But I don't think it's fair that his wife and children suffer because of his mistake.
Can I take this opportunity? And I know it's obviously a very left-leaning, but I just want to plug an episode, a podcast of the James O'Brien show on LBC.
Yeah.
Because on Friday, I don't know what the date was on Friday, 15th, 16th?
Yeah,
something like that. They usually, the way LBC shows work, for anyone who doesn't listen or is we have listeners from all over the world. Each presenter gets a 3-hour slot, and they generally dedicate an hour to a subject. So, for example, if you've got James O'Brien has the 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock slot, so he'd dedicate 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock to subject 1. Then at 11 o'clock, they'd have an ad break, do the news, and then they'd come back and they'd do the next hour on another subject. So he actually dedicated the first 2 hours to getting people to phone in, and it was people who had loved ones been radicalised under this recent wave of right-wing radicalisation. And it wasn't even how did they get radicalised or any of that. The conversation was just, what's it like for you? Because there's someone you love, and how do you, and so many of them were it's heartbreaking listening to, and I highly recommend just listening to the first 2 hours of that show. It's really eye-opening, really illuminating, and so many of them all saying this similar sort of thing, saying I just, I try, I don't have, whoever it is, I don't have them on social media, I don't have them, I've got them blocked on everything so that I don't see those views. Politics is banned. When it comes up in conversation, we swiftly move on because I don't want to, but at the end of the day,
I think that's a mistake.
you can't, but at the end of the day, you can't square it because these people's views are not, particularly for the more extremely radicalised one, because their views are not like
They're not reasonable.
political, they're inhumane. They're the people that would have supported the burning down of a hotel with migrants inside, with people inside. It's like, but I just want to take this opportunity to plug it, because while we're talking about it, it's relevant, and it's one of the best pieces of radio media that I've listened to for a very long time. It's very it's very emotional.
Might have to give it a listen then.
Yeah, it's a really, really good piece, and like I said, I like the fact that it was going so strongly that they carried it over into the second hour.
And it's interesting. I was angry with James O'Brien when the Palestine stuff after October the 7th. But I think part of the problem was he was doing each day like a bit of it at a time in isolation. He was like, we're going to talk about October the 7th today. We're not going to talk about the history of Israel and Palestine. We're going to talk about this. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about... So I think when I was listening to it in isolation, it very much came across like
an apologist.
Totally. Whereas if you were to listen to him now talk about it, it's very clear what side he's on and who he condemns.
Did you hear the reports, by the way, in Israel Palestine, that it's come out that it's a common tactic, and obviously the IDF have denied it and gone, no, any soldiers that did that were acting against, where they dress up Gazan citizens and prisoners in IDF uniforms, and then send them in to knock on the door of people they're going to arrest. Or if it's some kind of complex where they think there's a hideout, they send them in the IDF uniform, so that if there's any trap, like if there's a hidden gunman or a bomb, they get the victim. So they're basically, it was framed as they're being human shields, but they're not quite human shields. It kind of goes a little bit beyond that.
Like, this is going to sound horrible. There was a documentary I watched once. No, it wasn't a documentary. It was Jack Whitehall's Travels with My Father.
Yeah.
And I think they went to somewhere like Cambodia where they had loads of minefields.
Yeah.
And they had these ferrets, or rats rather, that went out and basically can sniff out mines so that they can then mark them and either remove them at some... They're basically using them like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're using them as less than a human to go in and risk their lives.
Also give a shout out to a group called Breaking the Silence, which is an organisation made up of about 12 to 1,400 former IDF soldiers who speak out against the IDF, who basically, when they were doing their, because obviously it's conscription, you have to serve, and they never felt right doing it. They were like, no, this is not these practices. And so they now talk about those experiences, and they talk about those things, and they run reports by, because obviously a lot of them still have contacts within the IDF, so they can kind of try and, but obviously they've also got to be against what the IDF are doing. They can't support it, or they're not going to shit. But to Breaking the Silence, and they're an organisation, they're a really good organisation that are well worth checking out. They've got a website, and
I'll be honest in general.
Because these are from IDF soldiers. They're not from Gazans. They're not from Hamas. They're not from anyone else in the world. These are from people that have actually served.
Israelis.
And shot at the Gazans.
They've killed them themselves.
So anyway, sorry. That's got nothing to do with anything we weren't talking about.
Fair, to be fair, to say I've disengaged from it sounds really harsh, but I guess
for your own mental health, you've got to. Yeah,
like the videos and the constant stream of dead children and innocent people, like the story about the dad that went out to get the birth certificate.
Oh my God! And the twin and the was it twins? Wasn't it?
Twins, and then he comes home to find his wife and kids have been bombed, and you're just
horrendous.
Like it's beyond, like it's heartbreaking on a lot of different levels.
I'm like you, I've also disengaged, but I did see a post of a woman in Tel Aviv who was basically posting a picture of herself on the beach.
I like the fact you pronounced it like that.
I didn't, that was unintentional.
Tel Aviv.
I know I'm that dick that does do a bit of that, but it's completely unintentional.
Do you do it with French words?
100%.
Fromage.
Yeah. I can't help it.
Did you like that?
I did. Yeah. I did. It was cheesy. But a little French humour.
Is there anything?
Lawyered.
Boom.
Humoured. So, this woman did this post where she was like relaxed on the beach, and she was like, "Oh, me worrying about the airstrikes from I can't even remember who launched the latest airstrikes against them." She was like, "Oh, all really worried about them." And it's like, yeah, what you've done though is like you've again your whole country and even you frame yourselves as like the victims in this. And what you've done is shown that you're actually the furthest thing from a victim.
Yeah.
Because you're actually just having a lovely time at the beach.
Yeah.
And you're saying, oh, there's this threat, but there's not really. And that's what you're saying. There's not really a threat to you.
Isn't it called the Iron Curtain, their missile defense system? So it's like basically no missiles can make it through onto Israeli soil, from what I understand.
So you're not really really under attack.
But they're
you're
also
not really
terrified of the terrorists they're fighting.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's... And like, people are attacking us. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
What were we talking about?
Well, we were just sort of talking about Israel and Gaza, and before that I can't remember.
I mentioned James O'Brien. Oh, no, we were talking about the right-wing stuff, because I mentioned the James O'Brien show where they talked about people being...
I think we've more or less covered that now, to be fair.
The rioter, the GoFundMe.
Yeah. So do you think they should have cancelled his?
I think they reserve the right to. I think, like you said, if it was a GoFundMe for, and this is why the framing is very important. If it was a GoFundMe, like you said, framed at this poor mother who's been left alone,
destitute with her 2 kids, going to lose,
struggling to raise her 2 kids, and struggling to lose her home because she suddenly had her whole income and not just income but child support taken away.
Like, look,
that's one thing.
I'm assuming she's not also a racist asshole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I am making a massive assumption there, but I think fundamentally for me, whether she is or she isn't, actually I'm not that bothered about. She's got 2 children.
But to frame it and go, my poor mate, and it's like, mate, you're poor. Yeah, he might have been radical, and you thought, he just went along, he got swept up.
I think he even tried to defend it when he was getting criticised.
What's that whole thing? It's you fell in with a bad crowd.
And I think it got community noted on Twitter as well, where it was like he wasn't just an innocent bystander, he was convicted of X, Y, and Z.
And that's the problem, isn't it? You can't go, this poor bloke, like I said, that saying that I remember from my childhood, fell in with the wrong crowd.
Like the woman that's in her 50s that's been sent to prison for saying burn the mosques online.
On Twitter,
that was another example of
Facebook,
really poorly done headlines where, again, they were trying to make her... And like there was a debate over whether she'd go to prison or not. I was like, yes! Absolutely, she should go to prison.
She's not just saying she's fine with... She's telling people you should kill these people.
Yeah, and in a situation where people were trying to set fire to hotels, I'm sorry, like, you can try and claim a defence because you said mosque, but... that's
100%. That's a punishable offence.
Yeah. So like the fact she's in prison, cool, good. The only thing that is worrying, right, about this situation, and it wasn't something.
Let's hope no one has the view that criminals are ruining this country, and we should just burn down the prisons with them inside. Let's hope no one has that view while she's inside, eh?
Yeah.
Because I wonder if someone did, and someone started burning prisons, whether she'd think you should lock that person up. Or whether she'd think, no, they're just expressing it,
Well, there's been stories recently, like in the UK, in the last couple of weeks, of women and men, white women and men, that have been inappropriate with young children. And part of the argument from these people on the right is that it's about protecting children from dangerous things.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's like, where are the right wingers when it's a white middle-aged man or a white middle-aged woman?
When they held the this vigil, basically who turns up with a can of Stella and a fucking baggie of coke for a vigil for some teen, not even teenage, were they? Young girls that have been killed. Where were they when that Leicester Square attack?
Yeah,
when it was actually an Asian migrant who saved more people from being stabbed.
Yeah,
that bloke, white man. Stabbed this woman and her daughter. I think
and he got the knife off of him, didn't he?
He got the knife off of him and held him down till the police came.
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't there. They weren't there vigiling there. Where'd you protect the fucking kids there? That was a child that got attacked.
Yeah.
And if it's about protecting the children, this Asian immigrant has protected children.
Yeah.
You're still not happy about him being in the country, though, I would hazard a guess.
Yeah. Well, no, that he might be one of the okay ones. No, not him.
Oh yeah, not him.
Yeah, he's one of the good ones. Yeah.
But where was the up in arms about that? Yeah. And in fact, we've seen, like, as you mentioned the other day to me in private, we talked about it. There's been a rise in violence against women, and particularly stabbings.
Yeah.
There is a bit of an epidemic going on.
Yeah.
Where's we're protecting women, we're protecting kids?
I do wonder what's causing that, because, like, no matter how desperate my life may get, my reaction to it is never, I need to be violent towards women. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
I think it comes from the radicalisation, the misogyny that comes with it. This idea that women owe you things, and if they don't owe you things, but not just that they owe you something, but they're lesser. They're lesser being.
Yeah.
And that if they don't owe you something, if they don't give you something, sorry, even if it's just engaging, even if it's just smiling at you, or, you know, when you're trying to be nice and give them compliments by telling them, you know, all right, darling, you got lovely legs or whatever. I'm just giving you a compliment. I'm just being nice. Yeah, I'm just being nice.
Yeah.
And if they don't respond positively to that, then it's like they're disrespecting you and they're going, fuck you, you ugly piece of shit. That's how they interpret it.
Yeah, it's every time they've ever been rejected.
And then as far as they're concerned, they initiated it because they were horrible to me. And it's like, they weren't horrible to you. They don't owe you anything. Do you know?
And I guess maybe with like these incels, these men like this, that they get in a group of them where they've probably all been rejected by a woman at some point, maybe even lots of times, or they've been ignored by women,
well, it's like,
or
you know,
invisible to women. I think you're right. They must then just sit there together and go, aren't they disgusting? And like, we're like, look, there's loads of us. They must be the problem.
Well, it's like, you know, we would do it. We have done it jokingly in the past when we were like 18, 19, we were going to bars. And you'd hit on a woman, and you'd just turn around and we'd be like, lesbian. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were doing that. We were doing that.
Ironically.
Quite knowingly.
Yeah.
That what's happened is I've engaged with a woman,
and
she's shown no interest.
Yeah.
And
quite rightly,
I've disengaged.
Quite rightly.
But that's the other thing that we did as well, is that we would just politely disengage. We'd go, okay, enjoy your night, and walk away.
Yeah.
Like,
and to be honest, like in general, when I was on nights out, because I've never really tried chatting up women. Like I've just tried.
It would only happen with me and Ash, and generally we would be pretty drunk.
Night where you guys went round.
We've done it a few times, to be honest.
Weight does it take to? What is it? How much
does polar bear weigh?
Enough to break the ice.
Enough to break the ice. Hi, I'm Jake.
Yeah. And you wondered why it didn't work.
Can't remember what Ash's was though.
There was a lot of
Fred Flintstone.
Tiger that
I may not be Fred Flintstone, but I can sure make your bed rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of lesbians. Don't you know what? It did work on one pair.
Did it?
Yeah.
What, of lesbians or?
No, but they were obviously straight. They were the only straight ones in there.
You've managed to suss out the straight women.
But again, that is a joke. You know, that whole they must be lesbians. It's because there's no conceivable. They owe me something. There's no conceivable way that they wouldn't be interested in me.
When we've said it, it has been in a also mocking the men that genuinely believe that as well. But yeah, no, I think you're probably right. I think it is. They're just sad, rejected little men.
Well, it's like, do you know what where the term incel comes from?
Involuntary celibate, doesn't it?
And what that means is women don't want to sleep with me. And it's understandable because you use terms like incel.
Yeah.
Because you wear it as like a badge of honour.
Yeah.
Because you hold very misogynistic. You don't. If you don't value a woman as a human being, why would she sleep with you?
No. Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of work to redeem myself here with my lady friend.
I was going to say, like, the majority of this episode has been us trying to win back women.
Trying to come back round.
Shall we? Because we're going to do a guest episode.
Yep.
At time of recording, literally tomorrow.
Yep.
Should we save the palace stuff for the guest?
Yeah, let's save it.
Because I've got another subject and there's quite a bit to it, to be fair. And it's Mr. Beast.
Is it your cock again? Oh, Mr. Beast.
No, well, that is ironically what I also call my penis.
It's a big subject and there's quite a bit to it.
Exactly.
It's meaty.
And I don't just want to get to the tip of it.
You can spend hours exploring it and still not have got every angle covered.
Got to the base of the shaft.
Absolutely.
So Mr. Beast, look, we'll do our best. How aware are you of Mr. Beast, first off? Because I know you're not big into YouTubers and things
not even the slightest. The only way I'm aware of Mr. Beast... I've heard of Mr. Beast because he's made the news outside of YouTube. You know, people will talk about him on other platforms.
Have you heard about any of the stuff going on with him at the moment?
All I heard was that his partner turned around and said, look, half of them aren't true. And it was like, half? That you're just condemning him for the other half.
What half? Which half? This is really important.
I know what she's trying to say.
Both are really bad.
You've basically just come out and said half of the accusations are actually pretty accurate, but you guys are overestimating.
Yeah, it's very poorly worded. I doubt that's what she actually meant.
100% not what she meant, but it was I couldn't help but read it and infer that.
So Mr. Beast is officially the biggest YouTuber on the platform.
And I would just say this:
Across all of
I
his
mock
channels.
and derive YouTubers because I don't understand them. I don't understand
Yeah.
how it works. I don't understand. I mean, I understand
Well,
how
I'll
it
tell you,
works.
the one person who seems to understand how it works is Mr. Beast.
Well, I don't understand the audiences. I don't understand. Like I'm very much one of these people that's like, as we all are. It's not how I had it growing up, so
Yeah.
I don't know it. But what I'm trying to do, because I just want to preface this whole conversation with it, is I'm trying to take them more seriously. I'm trying to say, okay, I don't understand it. I don't understand you.
I think, to be fair, mate, you're in the same boat as the mainstream. Like, the mainstream hasn't understood what's
But there's
going on with
something,
YouTube.
there is an achievement in YouTube for you to have been making that much
mate,
money
like,
and to have garnered
YouTubers
that
have
kind
a
of
bigger
audience.
platform than most mainstream
I
platforms.
say I have to hold my hands up and say that
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is absolutely something there. I just don't understand it. So I'm trying to come. That's the angle I'm trying to. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
mock and derive
So,
anymore.
Mr. Beast is
Derive.
a YouTuber that is
Whatever.
predominantly aimed at, I would say, kids and teenagers.
Okay.
But he started off, when I first started engaging with him, it would be videos like, because he's all about going viral. Every video goes viral, basically. And he's worked out over the years through just spending hours and hours releasing videos and studying the impacts and changing things like the thumbnail. And like, he's basically sussed out that 14 to 20-minute video is
The key.
one of the main things. Another part is any moment that doesn't move the story you're telling in that video along is worthless. So just cut it.
So he's done the job. He's learned to be an editor. He's learned to be a producer.
Yeah, it's all killer, basically, as far as Mr. Beast is concerned. Like, it's all go all the time, and it's as big as humanly, and it's only ever got bigger. So, like, it would be videos. It started off with, he would go into Walmart and approach an employee and be like, if I give you 40 grand, will you quit your job right now? And things like that.
I was going to say he's quite forthcoming with money, from my
Oh,
understanding,
absolutely.
and a lot
Throws
of times
money
very
around.
charitable.
Yeah, he has a channel called Beast Philanthropy where
Yeah.
he genuinely does a lot of good work.
I can't hear the word
Um,
philanthropy without thinking of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Why? What do they do with philanthropy?
No, so they set Charlie. They like make him a profile, a dating profile, which is funny enough when they're like,
Oh, and he's into philanthropy.
No, and they say like, we'll just make it up for you. And they're like, remember, when he goes on this date, he's like, just remember you're a philanthropist.
He's like, what is a philanthropy?
No, and he goes, I'm a full-on rapist. And she's like, what? And he goes, yeah. He's like, kids, disabled.
I can imagine them doing it.
Yeah,
so.
and then he's like, he's sweating, and he tries to get Dennis. He's like, swap shirts. He's like, I'm not swap shirts. And he goes back out to this woman. He's like, sorry, there's a guy in the bathroom. He wouldn't give me his shirt. It's like,
I like it.
And when he stands up, so they're like, oh my God, your breath stinks. What were you eating cheese before you came out? And he went, well, yeah, a little bit helps me relax. They're like, how much cheese? He's like, a block. And they're like, no, you don't eat a block of cheese for a day. Anyway, but I can't think of philanthropist without thinking I'm a full-on rapist. No, kids, disabled people, that kind of thing.
So he's done all sorts. He's dug wells in Africa. He's cured 1,000 people of blindness, given away a lot, and he does a food bank in several cities near where he is in North Carolina. So he does a lot of good work, and all of the money from that channel goes complete. And to be in general, all of his money that he makes from YouTube, I think around like over 90% goes back into the content and investing into his infrastructure. And like, what he's built is very impressive. He's got huge warehouses. He's got hundreds of people that work for him, several revenue streams and businesses.
Yeah, I know. He's got like a little posse or something, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got like a group of people he hangs out with. One of them is one of the things he's come under a lot of criticism for. And that is one of his oldest friends called Ava Tyson.
Yes,
who
I'm aware
was
of
known
this
as-
criticism.
Who was previously known as Chris Tyson. They transitioned. And it's unclear. I can't tell. They keep calling him Ava Chris Tyson. I can't tell if that's the name she's chosen or if
they're
that's
trying
their
to
way
clarify
or
who
slam
this
her.
person.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. I think deservedly slammed from what I've seen.
But I've watched a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of accusations against Ava Tyson.
We've talked about this, haven't we, on the pod, where it was like, what would you do if it came out that I was found guilty of X, Y, or Z, or what would I do if you were found guilty of X, Y, or Z? A little more difficult for us because we're a duo.
Yeah, but I'd still like to think that it's a fairly easy decision to make, isn't it? Like if you found out I'd been fitted in with children, you'd kick me out, and vice versa. You know, it's just not.
I'd say, let me see the kids. I'm joking. I just want to be so clear that
to be clear about Ava as well. I don't know. There's not been any accusations of actually doing anything.
No, but a lot of grooming and inappropriate messages.
Absolutely.
I think. Because I think I saw a post. Someone did a post, like it went viral because it was like screenshotted messages, and the person was like fucking 12 or 13 or something when they sent them.
Moderators in his stream chats and things like that. She was sorry.
It was dodgy as shit.
Yeah,
like reading them, it was like, and I think they came around and said like, or she came out and said like, it was really bad dark humor that I had at the time, and I sort of believe that to a point because we also had that same stupid dark humor.
A lot of people,
but it read worse than that,
and a lot of people that surrounded her, including her now ex-wife, have come out and said that she's not what she makes. She doesn't call her she either, by the way, but Ava isn't what they make themselves out to be, and that she wouldn't trust anything that comes out of Ava's mouth.
Fair. But Mr. Beast has come under a lot of criticism for a lot of things. Like there's a lot of accusations,
and there's
against
also
him.
another person they found out that's been in videos with Mr. Beast, that's worn a mask in videos with Mr. Beast, that has been is on the sex offenders register, and was one of
I saw
his
this.
main managers for quite a long time.
I saw this. They were quite big collaborators so frequent collaborators.
Like that side of things, like it's very difficult to look past, and like the amount of.
But there was a bit of like it wasn't immediate that he distanced himself, was it? When it became known,
it took a bit. Took a bit. And it's only because he came under a lot of criticism.
Yes, I saw
over
it.
his handling of Ava transitioning in the first place at the time.
Didn't he pay for?
I don't know if he might have paid
parts.
For it, maybe.
I think.
But he's now also under criticism for his treatment of the people that work for him. He's also I didn't realise this until recently, he signed a $200 million deal with Amazon to put on a show called Beast Games for Amazon, where he's filmed a video with, I think it was like 2,000 people to qualify for this show, where the prize will be, I think it was $2 million for whoever wins it. And I think there's going to be, they said between 2,000 and 5,000 people competing in that to win the prize. But he's come under a lot of flack for the treatment of the people that were qualifying for it, not being fed, not being watered, not being looked after. There's other accusations from people that are like creators themselves or are trying to become creators. His team reaches out to them and will be like, we might have a position for you, but we want to do what we call a vibe check, which is where we get you to come, we fly you over, we pay for everything. You'll spend a bit of time with us and our creators and basically just see if it gels. But it turns out he has groups of them come at a time. They'll spend anywhere up to a week in a room coming up with ideas with one another, and
then he just takes the ideas.
These whiteboards on the
whiteboard
paint on the wall, and like this guy documented his ideas that he'd put on the board, and they were like, he said like they couldn't have been more excited. And then he goes home, gets an email saying, look, we were really impressed, but we don't really have a position at the moment, but we'll keep you in mind for the future. A few months down the line, they've done his idea in a video. I can
see that coming from a mile off, yeah.
And the guy then said also, on our first day there, it was a group's last day. On our last day there, it was another group's first day. And he's just convinced that there's a conveyor belt of people being brought in to milk them for ideas.
Oh, definitely. From what it sounds like, definitely.
Pay them in terms of they get paid for their food and board while they're
Some
there.
paid internships, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
but taking advantage
but
of
from
people
a creative
that
standpoint,
want to build a career. There's been accusations over how he's treated his people in terms of just they'll speak against him once and the next day they get pulled into a room and they're like, yeah, you're gone. There's no explanation. There's no... and where I've heard him interviewed where he's like, if someone is leaving, I do cut it off quite quickly, but they get basically a golden handshake and a golden recommendation for whatever job they go for next. Like I'll handwrite a letter where I'm like, they're fantastic, blah 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 blah, and build them up. Apparently that's all bollocks as well. So yeah, the accusations against him is basically on the other stuff. Like he runs illegal lotteries. He's been really deceptive with his brand of chocolate called Feastables.
He's got a brand of chocolate.
He's got a brand of chocolate that's
Christ.
massive in America at the moment. It's called Feastables, and he released it as a healthier alternative chocolate, where basically he claimed around 4 ingredients and there was less sugar, less fat, but not that much less. Because his claim was, if you make something too healthy, people don't want it. So if you just make it a little bit healthier, it's better for everyone.
And you get away with calling it healthier, but healthier isn't healthy.
And obviously, in all of his videos, he slapped that over everything. Feastables, it's a healthier alternative. He went on Joe Rogan and talked about it. But since, basically because everyone hated the taste of it, he's changed, the recipe's been changed, and it's now as bad as everything else. But none of the old advertisement has been taken down, and his videos get hundreds of millions of views. So it's being advertised to these children as it's a healthier alternative, but it's not. And then he does stuff like he encourages children to tidy up the displays of Feastables when they go shopping with their parents. And if they take a selfie of it and send it to...
they get a free fucking...
they get entered into a lottery to potentially win $5,000.
Brilliant. I bet that's bollocks.
He's been called out for doing stuff like he'll live stream for 6 hours signing merch with his team, and they'll all take turns signing their name on it and selling those to people online. And then while he's doing it, he'll be like, right, one of you in the next 6 minutes that places an order will get $5,000 in their package along with their signed merch. And they showed on this stream, almost all of them didn't have the prize put in, and they would read out the person's name and say, you're going to be getting $5,000 or $1,000 or however much he shouted out in your package. And almost all of them reached out and said, we never received our money. And then they even caught on camera on this same live stream that one of the guys was signing Mr. Beast's name for him. And like they said, people are buying these bits of merch because they see it as a collector's item. It's got Mr. Beast's signature. And just even having one that was signed by someone else calls into question
all of them,
anything
yeah.
he's ever signed. Because how can you guarantee, unless you saw him do it, that he signed it? So there's just so much he's being criticised for.
I get it, because it's very difficult to run an empire that big without outsourcing. But
well, the thing is, I've heard him talk about it. I mean, he did a really long one with Joe Rogan where he was like, the only thing I can't outsource is me being in the content. He's like, and I'm in all of the content, whether it's the Reacts channels, the gaming channel, the philanthropy channel, whatever it is, I have to be there for the filming. So I then have to outsource
everything else
that I do. So I can understand that. But in terms of like how you treat people,
the biggest
manipulation,
ick
and
for
that's
me,
the thing, he's manipulating children above anything else as well.
And ick might be an understated term, but the biggest ick for me is the plagiarism of not even the plagiarism. You're getting content creators together. You're getting creative people together.
Yeah, and they're not
telling them to come up with ideas.
Want to work in marketing or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're reaching out to people,
telling people to come up with ideas under the false guise of a position, but you know full well that they're not. Sending them away and then taking all their ideas like that.
I'm sure that's illegal as well.
Is just, I don't think it is, because you'll see, like, I've had it where I've gone for job interviews sometimes, and they'll say off the bat, they're like, you know, you'll do like, part of it is like a group brainstorming session. Obviously, not quite like in the same vein as this. And then they'll say, but then they'll say like, when they invite you as part of the terms and conditions, it'll be like, the company holds all intellectual property.
Yeah, any work you do on that day. Yeah.
So I don't know that it is entirely illegal.
I saw a story of a woman in America that did that, and she came up with a very good idea,
a money-making idea,
and they just didn't give her the job. Took the idea and ran with it and made shitloads of money off it, and there was nothing whatsoever that she could do.
Yeah,
but no, I mean,
it's
for
immoral,
me,
it's dirty.
I'm
And then all the other stuff, like you said, Jem, like getting kids to do things,
and hiring
lying to
people
people
that are dodgy and then putting them on camera.
Just, you know what?
wearing a
I'm not going to
mask
lie. If
and-
I was watching a live stream of Mr. Beast as well, I'd want my money back, because if he said, right, you know, the next person who places an order, and then he read out I'd go, I'm going to place an order. I fancy a bit of £5 grand.
Yeah.
I'll give you my $20. And then he goes, right, you know,
minimum. Apparently, most of the stuff is like 40 plus.
Harold.
And like, he's also sitting there while he's doing the stream going, oh, if we keep giving away all this money, we're not going to make a penny from any of this, but fuck it, we'll do it anyway. And the guy worked out like the sales they made on that, he would have made millions on that stream. And he gave away
100 grand.
about like 200 grand and didn't send half of it out. So,
but that's the thing. If he went, right, you know, Jake, you've won £5 grand, I'm sticking it in the thing, I'd be like, excellent. If that then didn't turn up, I go, well, I only bought it because I was getting a chance of getting it, and only did I get a chance, I was selected.
And the thing is,
I want my money back.
He is breaking the law, and it almost in every business avenue he does, he runs illegal lotteries. It's an incredibly clever tactic, because it makes everyone invest into what you're doing with their time, with their money. With their interest, and like he's worked out, and like he does clever things like this as well. And again, I'm putting it all down to him. I imagine a lot of it comes from his team, but part of that is building a team that is capable of doing that.
It's that thing of if you're,
and the thing is, he idolizes people like Steve Jobs, who was famously a very clever man. He was a genius at getting people to do things they didn't think they could do, but a horrendous human being.
Yeah. And
I think that's probably the direction he's gone down. He's like, this is what I want to achieve, and we're all going there.
But it comes down to as well, if it is his team, it's if you're running an empire, a government, and your ministers, your council, whatever terminology you're using, are doing horrendously dodgy things.
It's on you as well.
It's on you, but also with stuff like this, it's like there's no way you didn't know that was happening.
No.
So you knew, and if you didn't call it out, then that's on you. You are now guilty of it. Even if it was their idea, they ran it and whatever, you are now guilty of it. It's all dodgy. It's all dodgy.
It's hard as well, because what these people tend to do is offset it with, but look at all this other nice stuff I'm doing.
I've heard a lot of that in the last.
And he was one of the people that when I said to you I was feeling conflicted about the fact these people I borderline respect keep turning out to be really scummy wankers. He was one of the people.
The thing is, and as a general rule of thumb, to achieve that kind of success,
you have to be quite ruthless.
You have to. You can't be a good person. You can't have morals. Like, it's such a rarity. I'm not saying they don't exist, those people, but you can't have morals and have that kind of a success. It just doesn't happen.
And I think there'll be a lot of conflicted people out there that have had a very successful career. And
well, the shame of it is the power that he holds, the influence that he holds. Because
that's the thing. He hasn't been cancelled yet, by the way.
Well,
like, he's not responded to any of it.
I've seen an awful lot in the last few weeks since I've not really been online before that, because I was working and stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff about all the philanthropic work he's done, all the charitable work he's done. I've seen far more about the good that he's done
rather than the bad,
rather than the accusations, rather than the things, and that's like the power to him. He's got the influence to put that image out there and to crush the.
When he works with a creator, that creator does very well out of it. Like, and when he was on Joe Rogan again, like he was talking about the fact he helps smaller creators. So he'll I don't know whether he reaches out to them or they reach out to him, but he'll work with a creator. And he was like, this guy was making about 20 grand a month. He's doing, that's good. Like, most people would be absolutely
over the moon. Yeah.
He said, I mentor him for a few months. He said, just a weekly phone call. I watch the videos they put out. He said, I will give them very brutal, honest feedback.
You need to cut this, you need to change
this. Is where you're going wrong, you were lazy with this, like thumbnail shit, whatever it might be. And he said, and I will just walk them through what they need to do to improve it, and we see whether it works. And he said, and I use them as guinea pigs as well. He's like, I test out theories that I haven't quite worked out whether it's right or not, and I push them towards that to see if it's effective, and then it's effective, it's helped them and it helps me. So he was honest about the fact it's self-serving at the same time as
Yeah.
like helping someone. But he said the guy went from making 20 grand a month to making 200 grand a month.
How would
in
you
a
feel
few
if you
months.
reached out to us now, hypothetically, and said, "I want to help. I'm going to help you."
I think I'd want to have a conversation with him. I'd want to talk to him, and it would have to be a conversation where maybe not about the Ava stuff, because I don't really think that's any of
No,
my
but about
business.
the lying about sending money
Yeah,
out,
all those sort of things I'd want to know.
stealing content.
I'd want to know what his answer to it is, and I would say, like, if you want me to sign an NDA that I don't release that information, fair enough. But I
Before
personally,
collaborating, you'd
before I
want to
can
you'd want
work with you, I
assurances.
need to understand what the situation is. But yeah, working with him would probably be transformative, even just doing one video with the guy.
But is it worth sacrificing
No,
those morals?
it's not
And again, that's what it comes into. If you want that success, you've kind of got to be
willing to.
immoral
Yeah,
or
It's a real
amoral at the very
shame.
least.
it's a shame. But yeah, like, look, we don't 100% know the truth of it. A lot of people have said in response, most of the people accusing him of mistreating people are people that have been let go. So there's the argument, are they just a disgruntled ex-employee? But I would argue
But
that
if one or two speak
the
out,
running theme for all of it, the similarities, the similar
also
accusations.
it's that thing, isn't it? If one or two speak out, you can maybe go disgruntled. But
if everyone
if
that's worked
most
for
of them
him,
are coming out and saying it was
Yeah.
dodgy as shit,
and the thing he does as well, which sort of reaffirms that he probably is dodgy, is that he lies about the fact the videos aren't staged. Most of them are staged because he does big set pieces, big stunts, all that sort of thing. Most of it staged. He's done stuff like he slept in a coffin for, was it 7 days underground? Like he was buried alive for 7 days. He does all these ridiculous things like climbing a mountain in Antarctica no one's climbed before. But lots of it staged, and then he claims most of the people in the videos are randoms that they've picked from
And they
online.
weren't.
His girlfriend's been in videos. That guy's on the sex offenders register, and the guy that was on the sex offenders register had raped or had been accused of raping. I think it was 2 young children. So like as scummy as you can get. And this guy wasn't just in his videos; he was one of the main managers in the Mr. Beast Corporation for quite a while. And they've since, instead of releasing any information or a response, because the only thing he said apparently to a creator that's been in contact with him is, I'm going to respond when it's all come out, not to each bit as it happens, basically. But he's hired...
What that says is, I'm waiting for more shit to come out. I know I do more dodgy shit than the stuff you've told me about. I'm just going to wait to see.
What a weird response to say. I'm going to wait for it to all come out.
That's how it sounds, right? That's how it comes across. If
Like,
he's saying like,
there's
so much more you guys haven't said
so
yet.
I'm just going to wait
Just
for
wait
that.
till they come out.
Yeah, and then I'll respond. But he's hired for the first time ever a head of HR, and is building a HR department. And he also hired, there was another position, I can't remember.
Shouldn't
now.
really have a corporate company without.
Yeah, but he's also hired the same lawyers Harvey Weinstein used.
Solid.
So I mean, again, like I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't look good. It's not good optics at the very least.
No, it's not great.
I don't want to. I mean, being a lawyer is a very iffy line morally in general, depending on what area of the law you operate in. And I know
If you're a defence
in this
barrister, you're
country
gonna
you can be assigned to anyone, but these people are choosing to represent a scummy person in Harvey Weinstein. But yeah, it's just not good optics. Yeah, and it's a shame because like I've watched a lot of his charitable work stuff, and it is really impressive. And like me and
How much of that is staged, do you think?
I'd like to think none of it, if I'm being honest with you. But like what I started, and it was me and Leanne debating it that sort of turned my head on it a little bit, because Leanne has always been uncomfortable with the fact he does philanthropy YouTube, basically, that he films it and puts it online.
Because he's
like,
not just doing good. Yeah, just do good.
But
don't
I
tell me
always
you're doing
argued
good.
like he's able to fund doing more, even more good than he would be able to by doing the videos. And as long as people are consenting and willing to be in it, then personally I don't see the issue. But I started watching more of his content, and there would be videos like he locked a guy in a supermarket for, I mean, he wasn't locked in, but every day he stayed in there, he got 10 grand basically. And it was, how long can you last? And then he makes it more and more difficult as it goes on, because it's a supermarket filled with food, so he can live off of what's in there. but every day he has to sell Mr. Beast $10,000 worth of goods from within the store. And then he turns all the electricity off. So then all the frozen food and the fresh food's going off. So then the guy has to get rid of that. And then he's living in the dark. He locks people
It's
in.
quite cruel.
Yeah. And it started, and then I heard things like he'll order a pizza and he'll be like, I'm going to give the delivery driver 20 grand just because I can and make his day. But what you don't see is that he makes the guy stand there for half an hour, more or less begging for it and posing with the money, like sad, happy, excited, like all these different things. And he's got someone stood there, like literally waving the money in their face to make them basically like dance for the money, essentially. And it started feeling more and more like poverty porn almost. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's exactly how it comes across.
There's a film, I can't remember what it was called. It was a horror film. It might have been called What If? And it was basically like this group of rich people that picked people that were desperate, brought them to this fancy night, and then basically were like, can we make them do their biggest...
Yeah,
like,
Squid Game.
Yeah, like, we're going to pay them however much it takes. There was an alcoholic guy in the film, and it was like, how much are we going to have to pay you to make you have a drink? And like, eventually they find a number, and they just enjoyed watching this man suffer and have a breakdown. It was like, that sort of, to a degree, feels like what he's doing with some of these people.
Yeah, and how often, I'm not saying it is necessarily the case, but how often is it the case that people that do really charitable work publicly are doing it because they've got a really dark thing that one day is going to come out, and they're trying to portray this image so that everyone goes, oh, I can't believe it. They do, like, with all due respect, the Jimmy Savile thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that shouldn't be, I know that's often the go-to in UK media and discussions and stuff, but it's true.
It's the biggest example.
I mean, obviously, he was quite specifically using that as an access, as a route to do, to abuse children. But it's that thing. It's like people going, no, but he did so much good. I can't believe that he's got this. And Mr. Beast has got the same thing going on. It's like, he's got a whole channel where he's doing it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched the difference he makes in the world. I can't believe that person.
Yeah, it's difficult to wrap your head around, and I've struggled with it myself.
See, as someone who's not watched any of his videos, and I'm just taking it as I know he's got this, I know he's got that, I find it very easy to believe.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, people that do that stuff, there's a pattern.
When you invest in someone,
yeah,
like when
you don't want to think you've got it wrong.
Yeah, basically, I guess, yeah.
It's the Brexit thing. It's very difficult to convince someone that they've been conned.
I consider myself a more reasonable person because I'm able, the more I hear evidence, instead of going, oh, no, it's all just bollocks, I'm able to go, oh, it's not looking good, is it? Like, I want to remain hopeful that...
But you also know it's not nice to feel like you've been conned.
No.
It makes you feel dumb. It makes you feel like you've been taken for a ride.
But part of me is wondering, is that just a big part of what makes people famous? It's about conning your audience until... It almost feels like the Harvey Dent line, doesn't it? That you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
It just seems like these people that get power and money, it seems inevitable. They all seem to, at some point, believe their hype and they can do whatever they want.
And to adapt my own phrase, my own thing with reality TV, when I would say they're not whatever for romantic shows, like they're not making couples, they're making a TV show.
Yeah.
And that's my thing.
Like with Married at First Sight and stuff like that.
Well, it's a similar, to adapt that to Mr. Beast with the charitable stuff and that. It's like he's not building he's not digging a well in Africa. He's not just giving a well in Africa. He's making content. Yeah. And for him, quite specifically, he's obviously put a lot of work into knowing how long the videos need to be, what I need to shoot, what I need to what do I show, what don't I show, what goes on camera, off camera. He's not, because if he wanted to just, as Leanne said, if he wanted to just dig a well in Africa, he'd just dig a well in Africa. Yeah. But he's not digging a well in Africa. He's making content. He's making consumable content.
Yeah. The thing is, like I said, I'm not fundamentally against that if it stays as just, I don't know. It's a difficult line to walk, isn't it? Because you're feeding the other side of your business, and it's the same as sports. You're whitewashing.
Yeah, but
there's other stuff.
There's a pattern. There's so often public philanthropists, public charitable people, publicly charitable people are not very nice people. They have some really dark stuff going on the other side. So
Fuck's
I
sake,
just
man.
think,
Maybe we just need to start, if anyone's ever publicly charitable, we just need to keep an eye on them and be like, what skeletons are in your
yeah,
closet, mate?
what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's cruel and it's susceptible. And I'd love to be, and that's the thing though. But you go, I'd love for people to just be able to do nice things. But if they want to do nice things, they just do nice things.
Yeah.
Like there's,
But I do like seeing people do nice
Yeah,
things.
but
And there's so much, that's the problem, like, there's so much negativity on the internet. When I come across content
Yeah.
like that, I'm like, I can get
But to
past what they're
use,
doing. Do you know what I mean?
to use a person that we both like, and I know you're particularly fond of. You look at George Michael. It was only after he died
All the stuff came
that we
out.
started finding out all this nice stuff, good stuff he did.
Well, no, they did do it for him once. I remember because
I know stuff did come out while he was
there was one where he went on. There was a story on This Morning. I think it might have even been GB
it wasn't
News.
all secret. Don't get me wrong.
No, and he tried to keep it anonymous. There was a kid with cancer, I feel like, and the family
Yeah, and he
couldn't.
paid for the thing,
He just
yeah.
donated the whole amount. They were asking,
Yeah,
and they were like, "No, we're not actually going to let you stay anonymous. We want to big you up for doing this." But then, like, as you said, the stories of like the woman that was destitute and sat crying in a cafe, sat with her for hours, and then she wakes up the next morning to an envelope of cash in her letterbox that solves all her problems. And
like he was a man who just
he wanted to help.
He wanted to do nice things.
Yeah.
He just did nice things.
Yeah.
He didn't make it content. He didn't go to a magazine or a TV show. And like even there with because I think it was This Morning or GMTV or whatever one it was.
Yeah,
he'd literally told them, please don't let everyone know this is about me. I just the kid needed the treatment. I paid for the treatment. It's that.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
The thing is, though, do you know why I think I get convinced by people like Mr. Beast? It's because no good deed is selfless, ever.
No, it's the Phoebe thing, isn't
it?
Yeah,
you get something out of it. You like helping people, so you are getting something out of it. So for me, in my head, I was like, yeah, but he's getting something out of it, but so is everyone else that does good things. Do you know what I mean? They're just not filming it. But for me, I was like, the more attention he can get for doing good, the more good he can do. So that for me, that was the way I was able to square it in my head. But I can understand why people are uncomfortable with it. It was like, I watched a video on Twitter once where there was like a cab driver who picked up parents from, what's the children's hospital?
Great Ormond Street.
That's the one. And he just filmed dropping them off. He didn't film them. It was just like their hands on the door.
And then said, I'm not going to charge you.
I'm not going to charge you. And he got so much shit in his comments for like, why did you film this? And I was like, I get it, but also sometimes it's just nice to see something nice. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's fishing for the adulation that comes with it.
But it's also with that, and I'm not saying I believe it, don't believe it, I'm just playing devil's advocate. The other side of that is you're making, the Mr. Beast thing, you're profiteering off someone else's pain.
No, totally.
You can only do something nice.
He still help. Do you know what I mean? That's
but
the part I
you can only do something nice because they're suffering.
Yeah.
And you've made that to show people that you are doing something nice. You have to first show that they are suffering. So you've aired their suffering. I know not, but you are.
Yeah.
You're profiteering off someone else's pain, and I can't help but I understand the.
But I think like if another creator was doing it, my opinion would still be, as long as they're comfortable with him doing that, and they're actually getting the help that they claim they're giving, then I can be okay with it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I don't know what I thought about it. Have you seen the clip? They clearly tried to make it was a YouTube thing. They clearly tried to do like a prank thing, where this guy had gone over and got this Walmart worker to be, I think I'm pretty sure it's Target, it might have been, whatever, one of those mega superstore places. And he'd been like, this girl's really I think you should ask her out. And he walks over and the girl stands up and she's like 7 foot tall or whatever. Mm. And he literally takes one look, immediately realises what's happening and just walks away. And like obviously you do get content from that, but you don't really get you don't get because she's just like, fuck, what? Yeah. He was just like, I know what's happening. I'm not engaging. You're not going to make money off of me.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people in the Mr. Beast content really had a choice.
Yeah, it's
or knew what was going to happen, or
calls all of it into question, sadly. So yeah, watch this space. We'll try and find out I'll try and keep the people updated.
Yeah, reach out to him. I mean, he won't respond till all of the accusations are out.
Yeah,
that's just so dodgy, though, isn't it?
And the thing is, I've heard like stories of smaller creators like reaching out to Mr. Beast and being like, I'm looking to invest in a new camera. What would you recommend for a creator of my size? And he'll end up just sending them an old camera that's better than what they were looking at for nothing. And it won't be, he won't advertise that and things. So like, it's difficult.
And I'd much rather hear stories like that.
Yeah.
Than watch you publicly go around going, look at all this good I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because that to me screams,
I know.
I want you to think I'm good. I want you to think I'm good.
Can't people just be good, Jake? Do you know what I mean?
Michael. George Michael was just good.
No, but could Mr. Beast not just be Mr. Beast, but without the shit stuff? Do you know what I mean? Don't get paedophiles involved. Don't treat people poorly.
Like I said, I don't think you can get to the top without
has anyone
being
tried?
a bastard.
Like, if we just all agree, it's all just play by the rules. It's all be cool, and let's just see what happens.
Give it a go. Send out a memo.
And that's my message to the people out there. Just be nice.
Just be nice.
Yeah.
He's Snoop Dogg.
It's all one love under the bud.
Have you seen he did a song called the Positive Affirmation Song or something?
I've probably done a lot of songs. I don't really listen to his...
It was like Doggy Land and Snoop Dogg. It was like a cartoon.
I remember when you told me he became Snoop Lion.
Yeah, with the reggae album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, he did a marketing thing over that he'd quit weed, and then it was all a hoax, and it was to launch
it was I don't smoke. I grill, baby, because here's my new grill, whatever it was,
Yeah. And it was like he left it a couple of days to build the tension, and
sneaky fucker, because he had me.
Yeah. No, me too. I was like, because he was like, after a long discussion with my family and my doctors, there's health concerns. I genuinely, I got hooked.
Yeah. I was like, motherfuckers quit smoking. Like, this is the biggest day in the world. I was like, this is the biggest news story that will ever happen in my lifetime.
Snoop has given up weed.
We lived through 9/11. We lived through the 2008 financial crash.
The Queen.
So we lived through the Queen dying. And yet Snoop Dogg quitting weed would have eclipsed them all.
Yeah.
What
a cultural...
Osama bin Laden's death.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I wasn't that bothered about bin Laden dying. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't that sad.
It's old news.
Do you know what
at
I mean?
That point, he's living in a cave. Actually, he wasn't living in a cave. He's living in a really nice complex.
I mean, I've watched Zero Dark 30. I don't know how accurate that movie is, but it didn't look that great.
Well, it's quite a grand complex that he's living in when they killed him.
All right, fair enough. We'll have to agree to this. I'm not getting in a debate with you about,
no, that's not
about the luxury of Osama bin Laden's...
Makes you think, though, if you lead a terrorist cell...
Yeah, only if you're at the top.
There's money in it. If you work your way to the top.
Well, he was famously paid by the Americans for quite a while.
Makes you think, who's more immoral? Mr. Beast or Osama bin Laden?
Well, and that's the question we're going to leave you with, I think.
We'll find out once all the accusations come to light. But I'll tell you now, if it comes to light that he orchestrated
9/11,
if Mr. Beast had planned a video where some planes flew into a tower and killed some people, or if he organised content going, watch me set off this bomb, then all I'm saying is I think it would just edge him ahead of bin Laden.
Yeah.
But only it. We'll wait for all of the accusations to come out.
We'll see what he says.
See if that's one of them.
Yeah.
Could be. It doesn't sound likely at the moment.
No.
But it could be.
But guys, let us know what you think. Do you think Mr. Beast is a scumbag?
Would you still work with him?
Yeah, that's a good point. If you were us, would you agree to work with him if he reached out?
How can they do that?
Oh, that's a very good question, Jake. I like your style. Do you want to gesture to the screen to tell the people? Because it will be on Facebook at Crossing Swords.
If you don't time that right, I know there's part of you that wants to do it.
No, I actually get a satisfaction out of timing it really well.
I hope so.
But yeah, it will be on Twitter at Swords Crossing, on Instagram and TikTok CrossingSwords_podcast. You can email us at CrossingSwords19@gmail.com. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, if you're just listening to the audio right now, you will find a link to our YouTube page where you get to see us in all our glory. And the link is in the description of every single audio episode.
And I just want to be clear, we don't do public charitable work. All of ours is just behind the scenes. We just do nice things.
All the ugly women I've slept with, I did that privately.
Not all of them.
Well, no, some of them were in public, but that was all agreed upon. Everything was kosher and everyone. It was all above board and tickety-boo.
Really nice that you diversified and went with some Jewish women as well.
Look, as
Jewish women deserve dick too.
They really do. They really do.
Don't let that be how I end it.
And I'm uncircumcised.
Imagine if that's what we get cancelled for.
What, shagging Jewish women?
Saying Jewish women
Like
we shagged, yeah.
Or that they deserve penis.
Yeah.
What's more feminist than saying women deserve dick?
Very little. You're right. Very
Like,
little.
I don't.
Apart from all the lesbians that have turned me down.
Do you know what? I think you could study this episode for media studies in like how to discuss the issue of misogyny
With sensitivity,
with
humour,
humour,
insight, with
a delicate touch,
without
with a velvet
woman.
touch. Look, there's nothing more male and modern and current than having a conversation about things that don't affect us, that don't involve us, that we have no real insight into,
no lived
and will
experience.
never understand. And thinking that we can do that deftly, correctly, smartly, and
if any women don't understand what we've spoken about today, we will mansplain it to you. If you
just
email
write
us,
in and let us know.
we will
and
happily
we'll address it on another episode.
We'll mansplain the whole concept
I
of feminism and stuff to you.
Because we get it. It's a big construction of thought.
So one of my favourite jokes to do is, and it's so silly, it's like dad level joke.
Yeah.
Is if I make a joke with a female friend.
Yeah.
And it's a bit misogynistic, bit sexist or whatever. And then the concept of a mansplaining comes in. One of my favourite jokes is to mansplain mansplaining.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just get it. It puts a big smile on my face every time.
Because you're a misogynistic scumbag.
I'm a misogynistic scumbag.
Guys, you heard it here first, and we love you all, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.